You are now listening to the Tapped In Podcast by Bailey Scott. Why, hello there, my lovely fellow humans. I'm so grateful to be in the position that I'm in right now, talking to you guys. Oh, I don't know if you heard that. That was my neck. Talking to you guys, talking to whoever's listening. I appreciate you. I'm sending you my love and appreciation. And I really hope that this podcast can help at least one soul out there that is dealing with anxiety. So yeah, I wanted to discuss what happened to me yesterday. And I honestly felt like this was an obvious thing. But I was talking to my friend and she said she never heard about it. So I was just curious if, maybe it's not very much a topic of discussion. But anxiety. So anxiety, I feel like, I don't know. To me, anxiety is weird because there are people that it's just kind of like their environment has brought them up to have anxiety a majority of the time, depending on your childhood experiences. As you grow into adulthood, and even before that, even when you're a child, when you're a teenager, anxiety is triggering. And it is just kind of something that can be brought on to you without any of your control, And I feel like that's what kind of happened to me. I feel like that I didn't have anxiety for, a chunk of the beginning of my life. And then my parents were going through, a phase when I was young. And it kind of put me in a state of anxiety, for sure. It put me in a state of anxiety to come home. When I would hear loud discussions, it would put me in anxiety. I didn't know what would be happening or what's going on. So I kind of have dealt with anxiety in my own way. From my childhood, I've noticed how it's trickled into my teenage and adult life. And I've noticed that it happens unexpectedly. But as I'm growing older, I'm noticing and I'm reflecting, like, there's gotta be some sort of reason why this anxiety pops up, other than the fact that something triggered me, whether it's my brain, whether it's an external situation, whether it's the way someone treats me. I notice that anxiety always comes from somewhere, and it can be from my shadow self, from my childhood, or it could be something as simple as having too much caffeine. So yesterday I had no caffeine until about like 3 p.m. and I had a couple cups of coffee, and it wasn't just like regular brewed coffee. I had espresso. I had like 2 lattes, I guess you could say. And at first I was feeling my heart beating super fast. Like, it just kind of felt like, how you feel whenever you are just, I wouldn't say having an anxiety attack, but it was just beating super fast because I was also working. So on top of me, like, moving my body constantly and having too much caffeine, a lot is happening internally. So I took time to notice that, okay, like, my heart's beating really fast. I've had 2 cups of coffee. Maybe I should calm down. And I feel like there are a lot of people that have really high tolerances with caffeine. I would consider myself a person with a high tolerance for caffeine, for sure. But if I'm noticing that my heart is beating faster than normal, my result is to think about, okay, how did I get here? Because yeah, I could say like, oh, I'm working super hard, that's why. But I don't want to exclude the fact that I had 2 lattes pretty much. But a lot of people just drink caffeine on caffeine on caffeine. They keep going, you know? And I've always been like, how do you do that? Do you not feel it? But anyways, so I had 2 cups of coffee and I was really feeling my heart rate going up. And what happens to me, and I'm sure this happens to a lot of humans, we just don't really know how to acknowledge it. What happens to me is my body feels this feeling, and it feels like feelings I have felt in the past. When it comes to occurrences of fear, when it comes to me having anxiety attacks, it's a very similar feeling. So when I'm experiencing those feelings as a result of too much caffeine, my mind tends to alter what's happening. So my body's physically feeling like, okay, your heart's beating really fast, a lot's happening. My brain is telling me that you're scared of something, you're fearful of something. When in the beginning, that's not at all how I was feeling. When I had my first cup of coffee, I was fine. I was great. I was caffeinated. But I was like, okay, I could be a little more caffeinated. I'm still kind of like yawning and whatever. So I had that second cup and my body was really feeling it. And then my body triggered my mind. I literally triggered myself. And it was a hard realization because it got me thinking about how I started my day in general. And it's almost like I had an internal knowing to not go on my phone as soon as I woke up and to not have 2 cups of coffee. But I almost ignored that internal knowing today or yesterday. Not today. Okay, not today. I almost ignored my internal knowing, and it led me down a fairly anxious attack. I don't want to say I had an anxiety attack, but what happened was my body was triggering my mind, and my mind was telling me, you're scared of this, why can't you do this, why can't you do this right, and all this stuff. And I don't know if I think I'm just a very highly sensitive person, so I just tend to like make myself feel worse sometimes, and it's something that I'm really working on. It kind of led me down to having to contact my friend, and she really helped me feel heard and seen, and talking to her really brought a lot of comfort to me. So I'm glad that I knew that I had to contact somebody. I was kind of already texting her like throughout the night, and then I texted her while I was in the bathroom, and I just voice memoed her, and I just started crying, and I was like, damn, I didn't realize that I had to cry, because earlier on in the night as well, I had a work friend, and she was looking at me and she was like, you look like you're about to cry. And I'm like, I'm not. And in that moment, I didn't think I was going to cry. And then later on in the night, I cried. And, I don't know how she sensed it, but somehow she knew internally that I had to cry. And I didn't know that in the moment until it happened. And I cried to my friend, and she brought me some comfort and ease. And something else I'm working on is whenever people tell me things and it's from a true place of genuineness and love and compassion, when I have anxiety, I tend to forget those qualities about myself. And then when people tell me those qualities about myself, I tend to not believe them. And that's just something that I need to work on. Like I said, there's so many things that myself as a human that I have to work on. But as one of the things, yes, I have to work on believing people when they tell me things about myself that I believe are true as well. Obviously don't believe hate and everything like that. I'm going to believe what people tell me about myself that is beautiful and makes me feel good inside, even though that surface level anxiety is like, don't believe it, you know? And if you don't know, now you know. There are people that struggle with this. You might have a future lover that struggles with this. You might have a family member that struggles with this. And it's very important to know how a highly sensitive person might feel when you're trying to comfort them. And just know that even though what you're saying is true, they might not believe you in the moment. But if you have patience and acceptance, they will come around, and just continue to be there for them. And continue to be that listening ear and that nurturing voice. I'm trying to be that nurturing voice for myself as well, because all I really have is myself, because everyone else is dealing with all of their lives. You know, no one is always gonna have their back or have their arms open to me. You know, they have to have those arms open to themselves as well. So that's just that's what I went through last night, and it was really weird, and it was a crazy emotional roller coaster. But I ended up just kind of numbing out for the rest of the night. I kind of just stayed focused. I stayed present. I reminded my body to be present. I just let go of that fear that I had. I let go of what I felt was holding me back. I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna feel this out and talk it out with my friend and with myself. So once I present myself, I realized, like, wow, the fear is kind of gone, you know? And it's because I took time to feel it out. And once you feel it out, you let it go. You release it. You know, it's a lot easier to release it than whenever you stuff it down. But if you are a highly sensitive person like me, I want you to realize that take a look at the trigger of your anxiety before you trigger your anxiety to get worse. So for me, obviously, I don't regret the past. I'm glad I had a day like that yesterday. That way that I knew today to not go on my phone as soon as I woke up. And I'm not gonna over caffeinate. That's what I learned today. And I'm so grateful that I went through yesterday to learn that as a highly sensitive person, I cannot have those things be a part of my life. If it happens, it happens. I accept it. But if I can control it in a way that will keep me happy and sane and calm, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. But I hope that this podcast helped you kind of understand where anxiety might come from, and how if you just think back to how did your day start, you know, how did it go since you woke up in the morning, you know, maybe keeping all that stuff in mind can really help calm down your body, ease your mind, ease your soul, and just remember that, you know, a lot of things in life we have no control over. And so when you have anxiety, it's okay to accept it and remind yourself, I have no control over my body right now. So I'm just going to be present. I'm just going to feel it out, and then it's going to go away. You just have to trust that it'll go away, because every feeling is temporary. So yeah, I feel like I just had to let all that out. I feel a lot lighter. I really hope that if you're not a highly sensitive person, that you at least got something from this podcast to hopefully understand someone, a loved one, a little deeper now, even a child, you know, just kind of being able to look at it with a new perspective, because new perspectives are very healthy. And it's almost like I've had this perspective to not do those little things to help with your anxiety, but like I said, life gets in the way. I didn't have control over that. I went on my phone as soon as I woke up, and I had too much caffeine. That's what triggered me, and that's what happened. Your triggers could be the same, they could be different, but just keep an internal dialogue with what you do and how it affects your body to how it affects your mind. It's all a chain reaction. You only have control over how you react to it. So Thank you so much for tapping in to the Tapped In podcast. And I'll see you guys in the next one.